Hello and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on an update to Black-White Aristocrats. This deck is at its core an Aristocrats deck, meaning that we care about summoning a wide board, in this case that will have a positive outcome whenever any amount of our creatures are destroyed. In this case, cards like Cruel Celebrant, Zulaport Cutthroat, Blood Artist, and Ellis Ilkor. I'll refer to these as Blood Artist effects from here on out. We summon a load of Blood Artist style effects, since now in the format we have access to quite a few. We also have a couple of actual Aristocrats now, which this is not the card that gave Aristocrats its name. I believe there's like a red one, I think, that's like a vampire that gave it its name. But Cartel Aristocrat is a good example of what Aristocrats kind of care about, or a reason why Aristocrats are in the deck and why they have attached themselves to this archetype. Cartel Aristocrat, beyond having the ability to give itself protection from a color of choice, gives us a way to, at instant speed and freely, sacrifice a creature to some sort of benefit. Or again, the Aristocrat gives itself protection. That's it is secondary to the ability to sacrifice at instant speed for free, which can be a difficult thing to do. With this, we can sacrifice cards like Esper Sentinel, or Murderous Rider, or Apparition after the cards have sort of served their purpose as their glue card. After it's filled their role as glue cards. After a Murderous Rider has removed things, you can always apply pressure or block with it, or if you need to, sacrifice it with an Aristocrat, triggering all of your Blood Artist effects and dealing a buttload of damage over the top once you've already sort of extracted all the use you can get out of the card. And beyond the Rider and the Apparition and the Esper Sentinel, we have two more glue cards I want to talk about. Black Market Connections is just an all-around good card. Lets us do just a generally load of good things the deck wants to do, all of which we can kind of have trouble doing, with the exception of hiring a mercenary is not always super useful, but drawing a card and creating treasure tokens are pretty good, and with all of our Blood Artist style effects, we can have a good amount of life to be able to pay the Black Market Connections with some degree of regularity. And we have some 3 Tree Battalions as a card that I not only now love after having discovered it. 3 Tree Battalion effectively works as additional copies of any of our, any of our Blood Artist style effects, with the exception of Ellis Ilkor. They'd both be considered legendary. But basically they operate as additional redundancy, and with the extra 1/1 duplicate that's made, also work as extra copies. What the deck wants to do is summon a load of our Blood Artist style of effects, making our board super difficult to interact with without taking a buttload like 6, 7, 8 plus damage from all of our Blood Artist style of effects. And after having developed this almost minefield of a board state, we can always just apply pressure with the creatures themselves if we need to. Or we can start sacrificing off some of our less important cards with an Aristocrat to manually trigger the Blood Artist effects to go over the top and deal buttloads of damage. And that's the basics of the list. Land base, pretty self-explanatory. Just run black and white lands that you happen to like. This list doesn't need to hit the ground running or doesn't always need to hit the ground running on turn 1. So if you have cards like Temple of Silences or the new Surveil ones, or any particular Enter the Battlefield tapped land but with upside that you happen to have or like, or that your collection has, this is a pretty lenient land base for the most part. The only ones I would argue are super kind of required are Fell the Profane and Witch Enchanter. The Modern Horizons 3 Bolt lands are fantastic investments for uncommons, and you're going to get a load of mileage out of them, not only in this list, but in other lists as well. Sideboard, pretty self-explanatory. Cling to Dust for graveyards, Thalias for non-creature heavy spell matchups, Kaya's Wrath and Cleansing Nova as sweepers, since sometimes you do need to sweep an opposing board, and if you've managed to set your board up with enough Blood Artist style effects, you can actually still manage to do damage while losing your own board, so it feels a little better. And Cleansing Nova can also get rid of artifacts and enchantments. Selfless Spirit is if your opponent is running a load of sweepers and you don't want to give up your board. Selfless Spirit is a good way to do that, and also can, at instant speed, even if you don't need to get rid of, or not, sorry, even if you don't need to protect your board, you can always activate the Selfless Spirit for free, again, triggering all of your Blood Artist effects. Necromentia for the odd combo deck, rare, but you'll see them. Tainted Remedy for life gain decks. And a Chameel, the Inner Sun, for counterspell heavy matchups, which can be a real problem for this deck, since this deck requires a degree of setup to like really hit the ground running, and if your opponent just has 1-for-1 counterspells, they're going to run you out of resources, and Chameel is a good way to sort of answer that lack of resources. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions like, I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. With all that out of the way, now we go into game number 1. And game number 1 with our little Aristocrats list. And honestly, this is a perfectly fine hand. 3 lands, 4 spells, a couple of our Blood Artist style effects. Go ahead and play the Temple. Love to have a 3-tree on top. What is our... Oh, Thriving Isle. Okay. That is a card. What is their list? I mean, okay. That's fine. Play a Clearing. Play a Blood Artist. And just slowly kind of build up the minefield, for lack of a better term. We're doing good. Am I crazy? Or are they going to have to... Yeah, no. I don't think I need to care that much about the Wizard class. So we'll just play a Fell Mire tapped. Play another one of our Blood Artist effects, and again, just slowly build up the minefield, making our board state nigh on impossible to well, that works. I was gonna say nigh on impossible to interact with positively, and as you can see, yes, they swept our board, but we did deal 4 damage to them, so we're feeling pretty good, honestly. Play a Clearing, go ahead and pass. Do the responsible thing, play a 3-tree Battalion at the end of our opponent's turn. Their land base is all over the place. Cafnet is fine, probably going to Apparition that on our turn. Hang on, wait. Dies or is put into exile from the battlefield. We put, right, okay. Forgot, that doesn't work like I think it does. Honestly, might as well do it anyway. They are annoyingly going to be able to do the God Eternal thing and put it back in the list. But at this stage, we're just trying to buy time. See what we draw. It's not that helpful. Guess we'll crack one of our silent clearings. See what we can find. Still not helpful. Crack another one. Okay, that's something. And even, all things considered, even having not, oh my god, had the most impactful board, we're still like chunking them and doing a respectable amount of damage. Guess we'll play old Ellis Ilcor here. Go ahead and play the Godless Shrine. Still feeling kind of okay. If nothing else, since our opponent is not run something that's the most evident. That's a choice. Or hang on. Let me that Gaia's blessing threw my brain off. In game 2, even though our opponent hasn't shown us, that's fine, super what they're running in like a clear and concise way, we can clearly tell they're running a good amount of removal, so we're probably going to bring in some Selfless Spirits, if nothing else. Yeah, intertapped. I guess we'll crack another Silent Clearing, and again, just try and find something a little more exciting to do. We're not in any threat of dying, at least, so that's very nice, but we're not, like, doing a whole lot. War Leader's fine. I guess we go ahead and... yeah, we'll go ahead and do the path now. Why not? In the off chance we happen to find something of particular value. Did they not get any more basics? Pretty good. Guess we can crack I guess we can crack a clearing. There we go. 3 trees, pretty good. Have open a path to exile, even if they manage to play a relatively scary threat. We take that damage all day long. That is a particularly easy trade to make. Pretty happy. I guess we do shock in a Godless Shrine here. Admittedly, that does sort of, or pretty clearly telegraph that we have something in our hand at instant speed, but I'd rather them know that and me still be able to, like, do the thing. Whirlwind of Thought. Opponent's deck is all over the place, but, like, that's fine. Go ahead and pass. Playing the Tree Battalion, this time looking for one of our Blood Artist style effects. Cruel Celebrant, my god, will work just fine. If they have some sort of removal spell, what are you gonna do? Pretty good, though, if they don't. Yeah, we'll play the Cutthroat. They clearly have some sort of instant speed response, but at this stage we're just trying to make them use whatever they no doubt have. Play the Apparition. I was considering playing the Fell the Profane to leave a mana open, but I am getting to a point where I believe the removal spell is more important to us than the land, because we already have enough lands to practically do everything we need. They don't have double white open, so I don't think they have pardon? I was gonna say one of those, like, Settle the Wreckage style effects, but Cathar Commando is a card. Another good example of, even though our opponent played a thing at instant speed and did interact with our board, they couldn't do so in a profitable manner. Lyra Dawnbringer, they don't attack, that's silly. Would be a scary threat under normal circumstances, but I think we're just gonna... we will do a Path to Exile, actually. If we didn't have the Tree Battalion, I might have played the Fell the Profane here. But luckily, we got there anyway. We are going to bring in some Selfless Spirits. What do we take out? What do we cut? What do we cut? What do we cut? Maybe a couple Esper Sentinels. Anything else we want to bring in? Yeah, that's fine. There was an argument that maybe I could bring in some Thalias, but they did show that they had a good mix of creature and non-creature spells, so the Thalia felt like not the clearest include, if that makes sense. Pardon the drink opening. But I, thirsty boy. He says drinking soda that makes you more dehydrated, but I need a reward every once in a while. Of course, our opponent is, when they eventually get here, going to play first because, and like we always say, they have a brain. I still don't know what their deck is trying to do other than being a collection of cards they like, which is, again, honestly, a entirely fine, like, way to build a list. My god, I've said this point in other videos too, but really quickly... Yeah, that's fine. In moments like this, where you don't necessarily know what your opponent's deck is trying to do, I don't think the responsible play is to deviate that much from what you're doing to trying to interact with God knows what they're trying to do. It's okay to have, like we did, with a couple of cards to bring in to interact with, but if their deck doesn't appear to be the most focused thing in the world, it's better that you do your thing well than try to answer their weird thing better, if that makes sense. You could argue that maybe in like a competitive setting that you want to like answer your opponent's deck a little bit more, but I don't do the competitive setting. I just casual boy on ladder at the middle ranks. I'm in the trenches, baby, and I'm okay with that. Not gonna lie. Kind of hope our opponent's here, because I'd very much like to use this game. Give them a turn. Unfortunately, if they, don't come back, you'll in fact never see this game, which is mighty unfortunate. Secondo. Although, it is looking like they're not here. Not great. Not great. But, oh well, what are you going to do? Oh, they're here. Okay. I'm not going to lie, my brain turned off for a second because I was thoroughly convinced they weren't here. In that case, land and Blood Artist. It's just one missed turn, and they clearly, neither one of our decks are particularly aggressive, so I'm not going to throw out the whole game just because of that one goof, if that makes sense. Now, they're not, what's the word? Playing in the most time-efficient way possible, but then again, neither do I. Well, do I take a turn off and get the black market connections set up, or do I play another Blood Artist? Their deck is slow enough, I think we're going to play a black market connection. I think we can afford to take the turn off to get the value train a-rolling, if that makes any sense. Opponent certainly is there. They are doing things. What are we gonna do next turn? I'm thinking create a treasure token and hiring a mercenary. Sneeze. Managed to catch it. Oh, come on, opponent. I want to use this game. Not gonna lie, if nothing happens and they miss like another turn where I'm not gonna be the most cool with this. Come on, buddy. It's not going great. Yeah. If they do hard DC, then I won't use this game, which will stink a lot. back. That would imply they're back. Okay, that makes me feel better about staying here. I think we'll do a Cruel Celebrant. I should have done a Blood Artist first, accidentally. Goof that. And now, once again, we are just building up the very sticky, resilient board state that you can't super profitably interact with, which is a great spot to be in, although I'm feeling less good about this now. Guess we just do the black market connections, sell contraband, Cruel Celebrant. Guess we can Godless Shrine into a Witch Enchanter, get rid of their only blocker. Again, getting kind of low with our life total, but we have enough ways to manipulate our life total that we don't mind playing a little fast and loose, especially against slower, more dirtily decks. I haven't done the math, but they might have just killed themselves with a sweeper. If they haven't killed themselves, they've gotten very close. Kind of did the great thing here. And yeah, we set up the minefield. It's a great showing for kind of what the deck wants to do. You make an argument it wasn't the greatest since our opponent did miss a couple of turns, but this was good enough at showing what the deck wants to do that I'm going to keep the game in, even though the quality might be meh, you know? But yeah, honestly, yeah, pretty good game. And honestly, like, at least on our side is what I mean to say. The deck did what it wanted to do, and their deck certainly was there. But anywho, with all that out of the way, we'll go on now to game number 2. And game number 2 with our little... Oh, that's awful. Our Aristocrats list. And this has no lands, so that's going back. That has 1 land, so it's technically better. Still going back. I guess we'll keep a Gonjo goes back and a Rider goes back. That doesn't tell me a whole lot. Don't need more lands. Mono Green Devotion, we can be in for a rough time. Probably what it is. Still think we'll be okay, though. Play a Jadar first, so we can get the Decayed Zombie token up, and therefore be able to more consistently trigger our Blood Artist effects. Okay. I know less what's going on now. Is it just like a mono green stompy list? Cool. Is there a fight effect in there somewhere? Ramp through will work. Happy we didn't play the Blood Artist now, since it wasn't going to live anyway. Now we play the Blood Artist. Next turn we can play a land. No attack. Play a land and play both of our Zulaport Cutthroats. We're in a weird spot. I am beginning to think that it is just like a mono green stompy list, which is cool. Interesting. I don't think I've seen like a mono green stompy list. You'll see a lot of like elf list or mono green devotion, but those are not what our opponent's doing. This list is fascinating. I guess no blocks. We're in a weird spot. Play a Blood Artist and a Cutthroat. Guess we attack with the Decayed Zombie. Whether they block or not is irrelevant. We're more so just trying to get the life gain from all of our effects here. Thinking that we're probably just gonna bring in all of our sweepers if our opponent is like a mono green stompy list. We're in a really, really weird spot. Oh my god, this sucks a lot. Guess we're just blocking the most amount of damage. We're gonna lose this. This is fascinating. We're not guaranteed losing it right now, but it's getting close. Luckily, our Blood Artist triggers are going to help to keep us in the game for return, but I don't think there's much of anything we draw that's going to meaningfully change the tide, if that makes sense. I don't think I don't think there's a mechanical thing that happens. I might not be able to live, but I can stall for a turn. Again, just trying to block the Land of War Tribes, as those are the biggest thing our opponent has. Yeah, it really is just a mono-green stompy list. Okay. Again, just block the biggest things. Yes, the other things are bigger, but those have trample. So most of that's getting through anyway. That's what... Yeah, it's 4 damage. Healed and drained. That sucks. I don't know if there's anything we draw that matters now. That stinks. Well played from our opponent. Just got ran down by a list I've not seen ever. But, as always, we do enjoy seeing new list. So, Cleansing Nova. Kaya's Wrath. Jadar is cute, but they're aggressives, and that's a little too slow for aggressive matchups. Honestly, I don't think I need 2 black market connections against a really aggressive list. They're going to be pressuring our life totals enough. We don't need to help them anymore. We want our opponent to kill us, not us to kill us, if that makes any sense. Of course, play first because we have a brain. And that's okay. I can do that. That's lands and spells. Godless Shrine on 1, into an Esper Sentinel. To be honest, we're probably not going to get the most amount of mileage out of the card draw effect. But that's fine. Go ahead and play the Meadow, untapped, and a Zulaport. We take the trade since I imagine they're going to value the mana more than the 1 damage. I know I would. I was about to say, that's the correct thing. Land of War Tribe might not be the most exciting thing to get rid of, but we do need to get rid of it. Also, gets rid of a blocker, which helps us to apply pressure. Blood Artist in hand if we don't find anything else, which is nice. So, Gore Claw. Sadly, we don't have a second black source. Otherwise, we would have used the Murderous Rider on old Goreclaw, but that's fine. Okay, so there are some oddball mono green devotion lists. They just drew weird and it didn't hit like what they needed, which is fine. That's a lot of mana. Ooh. I've really liked this card. I just haven't found a way to make use of the second line of text. Don't think we block here. Okay, that's a land, but that's not what I meant when a land was needed. Oh, that really stinks. Annoyingly, I gotta start blocking, otherwise we just die, which is not fun. Okay, now I know what they are. That does sort of change things. What's the mana for? I mean, you can make... Okay, actually, he might have enough mana to... Yeah, just... pump it up and kill that way. You might as well give everything trample. That's the smart thing, so I can't, like, jump. It's another creature, right? Yeah, thought so. Yeah, I would have spread that out a little more, but that's fine. Don't think it matters what I do. We are, like, very much dead. We might technically be alive, but that is, like, just about it. Only hope is that with the Blood Artist and Cutthroat triggers that we might gain enough life here to get back, but I don't think we do. Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah, and that wouldn't matter because we die before that. Right. I mean, well played from our opponent. Sometimes you do just get ran down. And that does kind of make sense. The deck does require some turns largely ignored, so you can, like, set up early game plays to, like, translate into late game value and damage over the top. Usually, you don't... How do I word this? You don't see that many aggressive lists, so... At least in my experience, so I wouldn't be that concerned about a list like this. But Mono Green Devotion is... It's aggressive, but not in a go-wide sense. It's more that it, like... Because of all the ramp, it sort of generates tempo and time. And therefore is more explosive than what this deck wants to be. And this deck is not explosive. It's like a slow, more grindy list. If you go against decks that are particularly, like, speedy or have really big power turns, you can struggle to... What's the word? To, like, survive the onslaught. But it's still pretty fun. And honestly, if you want to, you know, show the entirety of a deck, you got to show the losses too. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content, and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of questions, like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. Thank you all so much for watching, and don't forget, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.